Hashem Sosai Tiptach Ufia Gitla Sacha. We're now in the 11th parak of Hoshea. Thankfully, this parak is going to take a different tone than the prior prakim. The parak starts, Ki Na'ar Yisrael v'ahavehu u'mimitzrayim karasi livni. Ki is because they were a Na'ar Yisrael to me, and I loved them. Meaning, we know that Hashem considers Bnei Yisrael B'ni Bechori Yisrael, or Haben Yakir Li Ephraim. There is a love that Hashem has for us that started earlier on in history when He took us out of Mitzrayim, or even earlier before that with Yaakov. And Hashem has loved us. Now we're considered a Na'ar, and because we are His Na'ar, we're His child, Karasi Livni, and He calls us our son, there's a special relationship. Perhaps there's a special relationship that we are B'ni Bechori, that we're the oldest, so we're prestigious to Him. Or Haben Yakir Li, that He just loves us indefinitely. But there is this love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for us, and because of that love, because He really loves us and He calls us His child, that's why He is sending us away, so that we can improve, so we can grow, so we can be that person that He wants us to be. And what is that person? What is a Na'ar, a child? So perhaps the idea being that a child is one who looks into the future. Yehoshua is considered a child at the age of 56 because he was going to be very helpful in bringing Bnei Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. Even Moshe is considered that there was the light of a child on his face because of the ink that was left over from the Torah, meaning that he had more to accomplish. So adults or elderly people look backwards, but Hashem says you are a Na'ar, you're forthcoming, there's more that you want to give, you have a future-orientedness that I can really love and tap into. But unfortunately, yes, the more that I loved you, the more that you called out to different Ba'alim and Psilim, unfortunately. But Vanochi Tergalila Ephraim, I sent a train to Ephraim, Kachas al Zrosa V'lo Yadu Kirfatim. You didn't know that I was the one all along that was making you well. You know, that you were regularly being saved by me. Hitzgar Galisi, as I sent. It could be from the word ragil. It was happenstance many times that this happened. But I brought you regularly. I saved you regularly, oftentimes. And here's a very beautiful concept in the next pasuk: B'chavle adam amshichem, with very light ropes. You know, almost like a leash of a child. That's what I did. Ba'avosos ahava, with the bands of love. I didn't take you in a harsh way, but I gave you the lightest punishment that I possibly could give, and drew you in a harsh way. Is the opposite of what Hashem does. He draws us in a loving way. And perhaps that is the concept that has happened all throughout Jewish history. One of my most favorite Rashis is when Yosef is brought down. It talks about that the Arabs that brought down him, that they were carrying besamim. Why didn't we care what they were carrying? Because Hashem said, I wouldn't want you to be brought down in a way that carried you with bad smelling things that the Ishmaelim used to bring down, but rather I did it with the ropes of ahava, because I love you. Similarly, when it came to us going down to Mitzrayim, Hashem said, I didn't bring you down in shackles and chains. I brought you down by Yosef, the whole story with Yaakov and Yosef. And so, but the question is, wait a second, if we would have had to choose, or if Yaakov would have had to choose, a little bit of shackles, but then you don't have the whole story with Yosef, wouldn't he have done so? But Hashem says, you know, that's my cheshbon. That's not yours. You can't, you know, there's no such thing. But why? Because what would have happened? What would have happened is we would have gone into shackles. We would have then just assimilated even more regularly and at a quicker pace, and we wouldn't have even had living in separate from the people of Mitzrayim, and we would have just assimilated. We would have been done. So as much as it pained Yaakov, it was a needed thing so that we could have Goshen, so we could be just at the right level that Hashem could still take us out. So we see that Hashem loves us, and the avosos ahava is really present, and we know that in our lives. A very beautiful concept that Rabbi Rosner mentions is that we say in Baruch Sha'amar, Hashem gozer u'makayim. He's gozer. He gives us a gzera that something's bad is going to happen. But what does he do immediately after makayim? He makes it something that we can handle. Hashem never gives us a problem or something that we cannot handle. And an interesting story is told that I believe it was the Chazon Ish. He saw a fire. And the man came to him and he said, "Oh my gosh, my house is going to burn down. My house is going to burn down." And he said, "No, your house is not going to burn down." And they said to him, "How would you know for sure? What, you're a Navi?" Which possibly could have been. What, you know for sure? And he said, "Because I know that you would never have been able to recoup afterwards. Like it would have been something that would have knocked you out completely." So what we see from there is Hashem loves us so much that He has ropes that He has to, do for us negative punishment, but it's never more than we can handle. Lo yashuv el eretz Mitzrayim, he says, but don't go back to Mitzrayim, but Ashur hu malko, because Ashur is ultimately Ashur. We know they ultimately took over, and that is something that we believed in Egypt. The only place that you're not allowed to go back to is Egypt, and this actually the part of this perek is the Haftorah for Parshas Vayetze, and we understand that why, because there is this idea that the sword is going to come and it's going to destroy, but ultimately we're not completely destroyed, and that's really what happens with Yaakov. That Yaakov, with this whole story with Esau, but he ultimately made it through, and everything that happened is ultimately made through. And very interesting in Pasuk Zayin, Ba'amitz loyim lemushuvasi. My people waver whether to return or not return to me. The El Al Yikaruhu Yachad Lo Yiramim, but which they call El Al, meaning rising up. So this is the source for El Al, which I thought was actually kind of cool. That they, but together they don't uphold it, unfortunately. Yachal lo yiramim. They want to come up, right? And they try to come up and try to get tickets, but okay. But ultimately, because they are not together, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says it's not. It's not going to last. And only when there's Achdus, then things last. Israel, how can I deliver you? Hashem says, I don't want to deliver you. I love you, but I'm going to have to. But I don't want to do it. Just like the cities, there were cities that are completely destroyed. I don't want to completely destroy you. Why? Ki lo ish b'kirbacha kadosh, because ki kel anochi v'lo ish b'karbecha kadosh. I am Hashem. I am not a man. I can control my anger. I can control and not completely destroy you, even though you deserve to be destroyed. And he compares it to Sodom and Gomorrah, and there are certain places that were completely destroyed, places that will never come back again. And Hashem says, I am not going to do that to you. Why? Because I know, ish bekirbecha, that you are a person inside, meaning you are my person. You have a tselem Elokim inside of you, and or you're an ish, you're just a person. And I have to take the contextual framework in which your life is, and for that reason, give you a little bit of a pass. Even though, truthfully, if I wasn't a Hashem, and if I was just a Basar V'Dam man, then I would never forgive what you have put me through. And then, lastly, at the end of the parak, a very beautiful idea. Acharei Hashem yalchu, eventually you are going to follow Hashem. Ka'aryeh yishag, a lion is going to roar. Kihu yishag v'yirchadu banim miyam. And there's going to be two things. There's going to be a lion that roars, and there's also going to be a sign, an osam, a face, that something is going to happen. And perhaps we're already in that. The lion that's roaring is, there's the idea of a calling back, of a kibbutz galios, people making aliyah, strange things happening in nature and society, political miracles that one would never imagine. Perhaps that's the Aryeh Yishag, the lion that's roaring. And what's happening is that's going to ultimately make everybody come on back. And then just finally, that just like a bird has the honing, it knows by nature how to get home, how to fly back. Hashem says, I am going to make it like a bird, that you're going to come from the different lands of Egypt and Ashur. And Hashem is ultimately v'hashivosecha el beitehem ne'um Hashem, going to return everybody to their homes. And so we have that in this parak, the idea, this beautiful idea that Hashem loves us. We're His b'ni b'chori. We are the ones that He loves us. He can't understand or believe that we let Him down so badly. But the fact is that Mark Twain asks, what is the secrets for us being our survival? And the answer is because we're divinely chosen. We don't play by the same rules of other nations. We are living in a holy way because HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us. He loves us like we are His children, and He's ultimately going to roar like a lion, make us come back either through nevuah or just trembling. He's going to have us all come back. He's never going to fully destroy us. And the vision of birds, kind of the honing instinct coming back to their original love, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is such a beautiful one. But He calls us Na'ar, and for that we have to really work on that. We have to work on the idea being that that we look to the future, that we do mitzvos b'zrizos with alacrity and with effort, and in that way HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises that Habein Yarkeli Ephraim, He will never dismiss us, He will love us, and He will bring us back.